you, these are the PPE kits we're going to be passing out. This one's a children's one, so it has a yellow sticker. Children's size masks or adult size masks. So everybody's going to be getting 5 masks. There's the spray, like the cleanser spray, hand sanitizer, and this body soap that everybody gets. Okay? And with the food coupons.
You said 4 to 7?
4 to 7, yes. So our youth council's a little bit short on numbers right now, so if anybody can come out, we're going to be passing out these.
So what, come at before or just during that time?
Yeah, if you
Okay.
can, if you can come help, and even be there like 4 to 4.
Yeah.
Because what we're doing is we're going to give away a drawing for one of our small concrete tomatoes, and to incentivize, the incentive for that is people have to fill out their card that has their name, phone number, email address for our contact tracing for the health department, in case if anybody out there says. Okay. Okay. So that's that, and then we've submitted our plan to the health department for Halloween hunt, and along with that, we're going to do another little PPE kit. That's a cute little Halloween bag. It's a cinch bag, and in it it'll also have another hand sanitizer. And we found some really cute Halloween masks that we'll be passing out to the kids. And we have $1,000 that was donated from Smith's Food King for our Hooper Tomato Days. So we can't do hot chocolate cookies, so we're just going to give them a little candy bag to put in with their kits. So any questions on any of that coming up? Bathrooms are up, open, functioning. Hopefully you noticed the pavilion behind you. They were a little bit late getting it. We didn't install it, the company did, so we haven't had time to do cement, but that'll go in next week. So.
Nice. It looks really good.
Yeah.
You might want to remind everybody what PPE is.
Personal protection equipment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But
maybe I should
everybody-
say you should remind me.
Everybody gets 5, so we have children through adults, and I think it's really nice. We're using CARES Act money for it, which we also will at Halloween, because then as we pass this out at Halloween, we'll also give them a little card where we get their name, phone number, and email address. So
I can be here. I just can't be here till 5 on
that's
Monday.
okay. Yeah, no, that'll be great. So, okay, thank you. If you have any questions on this, you can always let me know. So, okay, thanks.
Okay, I don't think
You have some instructions, Dan?
No, just make sure your mics are on.
Oh.
Put them where you want them.
They're not on.
Is this little switch right here?
No,
Oh, they're already on.
the black switch on the top.
Oh, that one.
Towards the red.
Thanks.
I think I need to crank mine down.
You can raise it. You want to raise it?
No,
You could.
depends on how loud I am when I start talking.
I would just remind everyone to speak clearly into the mic. Having been here last week, I think it will really help if we make sure they can hear us. Well, if we just work down through our agenda to see if you have any questions, we'll have just this Fremont 5 CTC, which stands for Communities That Care Coalition, that's going to make a presentation to our Hooper City Youth Council. So they'll just be here. Madison Kilpack will be the one that will be making that presentation. If we move on down to the approval of the minutes, did any of you have any questions or anything about the minutes that we see we've got 3 different sets to approve tonight.
I couldn't play them, but I don't know. I tried to go back and play them. It said the YouTube video was not available. Did anyone else have a problem listening to it? Or did anyone
I
attempt to?
actually didn't even try to get in.
Read them.
I just read them.
I just read it.
They're fine.
I just read them too. I did not go back and try to play.
Okay.
So,
Took me a while to figure out what the Fremont Island one was, and then it was like, oh wait, that was the,
Yeah, I read what was there. I just.
that was a long time ago, so yeah.
Yeah, Fremont. That was a while.
Oh,
and all of you probably received a notice about Fremont Island, right?
Yes.
About what's happened with that.
So it's been sold again. Is that correct, Mayor?
They what?
It had been sold again to someone else now.
Right. Someone that probably wants to keep it a little more natural and anyway. Okay, are there any questions that you might have on the July financials or August financials?
I just had one question. 4700 West project.
On which one?
4700 West project on the capital improvements. On the August numbers, we spent 145,000 and only budgeted this year for 25. Were we behind on payment for something, or what was that?
You know, we've been getting reimbursed from the county. In fact, Tracy, you could probably help us with that on the 4,700 financial payment. I think our reimbursements are starting to come back in.
The only amount left on 4,700 itself is what I just had him sign for 50,000. We've been reimbursed over 2 million for that from UDOT. The 50,000 left is more money from the county, from transportation sales tax. And then over on 5,500, it's all county money, and we've now requested our total, which is about 300,000, which is starting to come in now.
It says we spent 145 in August for that project. Do you know what that was for?
That was for the contractor. That was the last pay
Last
request for
payment?
the contractor.
Okay.
Yep. So, and yeah, and some of that's come from the county, and then the other 50,000 is the other part of that too.
Okay.
The mayor just signed.
So that's finished now. That's done. Good deal.
Project's all done.
Thanks, Tracy.
I might mention that we have received the second wave of the CARES money. And so we'll probably bring that up on the agenda at our next council meeting to discuss what we want to do with that. That's about another 265,000.
How many applications have we had for the first wave?
We have, well, as far as the county received,
Or
we didn't have any here in Hooper because we moved all the money to the county.
do they break it down by city though?
They have, and I think we can get, I don't know what that number is, but we have access to that. I think I can get that number.
Be curious to see what came back to our community.
Yeah, not just the number, but actually the businesses that they've helped out.
So was any of that money, Sherry? You haven't used any money for the kids or? Right, right. Okay, all right, perfect, thanks.
So I think that's one thing we would want to make sure that every business in Hooper that possibly could be eligible, that they've applied and, you know, that they've either received money from the county, or we can make sure that they understand there is still money available. They still want to apply. One thing on the July and August financials I was going to mention, which I always check, the number one thing is, and that is that our revenues are always above the budget. You know, and as long as our revenues are above our budget, which is consistent right down the printout, that's always a good thing. Well, anything else during the work session?
Yeah, did we, Mayor, were you able to get a job description put together?
I have not completed a job description for that, but I will get one put together.
Do you have a timeline when we could do that? We were hoping, I thought we'd set a pretty firm timeline for this meeting. Is there a timeline when
Well,
we
I think
might see that?
We have about 30 days, right? 2 meetings.
Yeah, 2 meetings ago, we talked about it.
We didn't meet last time.
Yeah, we didn't meet last time.
So I'll get that put together.
Would by next meeting be appropriate?
I think it's critically important, you know, that we advertise for the right type of position that the city needs.
I would
And
agree.
That's something that, you know, I'd really like to need to visit about.
So what do you need from the council in order to that get, I mean, I thought we had a pretty good plan in place, but it seems like that didn't happen.
Well, no, we had no plan. I mean, what I had was a job description for a planner. That was the title of the description. Now, what the council could really help with is what type of position do you feel we need in the city? See, I think I've got a pretty good idea of what we need, and I can put that together and share with each of you, and if you would like that, I mean, I think.
I think that's what I was hoping to see this meeting. I don't know if everybody else felt we would see a job description in this meeting, but that's what I thought.
I did too.
So that was clearly the discussion we had if we played back the minutes.
So if you put that together, then I think we can expand on that. and-
Yeah,
Right.
for sure. It's a starting point.
So, yeah.
So if you just email it to us within the before the next meeting,
Sure.
we can digest it, look at it, come up with our questions and answers.
Yeah, we were just hoping to see your thoughts, I think, is the goal, so we can get it moving forward.
Okay.
So our next meeting is October
Earlier.
6th or 7th or something.
First.
Oh, it is the 1st.
Yep.
So that's a pretty quick turnaround, Chris. 2 weeks.
Well, is that enough time, Mayor, or do you need more time than that?
You know, there's no question that's enough time for me to look at what areas of the city that I think, and as I kind of explained before, to me it's more of I think our weakness right today is the coordination, because not everything that runs Hooper City is under one roof. Meaning that, you know, we have our city office here, then we've got Hooper Irrigation, and then we've got our Hooper Water District. And if we had someone that could coordinate so that when someone comes in and applies for something, they could coordinate and make sure that every entity that has a responsibility in the approval process could coordinate and make sure, oh yeah, we've got what you need from Hooper Irrigation, we have what you need from Hooper Water, along with what's expected to be needed from the city. So that's one area in particular that I think it would really help to make sure that all the boxes are checked when they apply for something. And if there's something missing, they can explain to them just what it is that's missing and how they can go about getting that information.
So you can put that to paper and we can say this
You
is
bet,
what we
sure.
need,
Mhm.
what we think should be added to that, or
Sherry, did you say that we're waiting for approval for the Hooper Hunt?
We got it.
To the health department, it's going to be a very modified, one thing we have going for us is everything's outside.
Okay.
There's really, when I was filling it out, it's like, what will they touch? But there's really nothing they really touch.
Right.
So, and we're gonna spread the booths out further than we've done before.
Well, the reason I was asking is my wife told me that she'd already seen a poster up.
Yeah, well, you know what, we were under the understanding that we didn't have to have it approved because we had under a certain amount of people.
Uh-huh.
But then we learned we needed to.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, if worse
And
comes to
ever-changing
worse,
rules.
Yeah.
then
Okay.
we will change like we had to with some other things. But
I was just curious how that was going.
Sherry, what do you need from us in regards to the ramp grant process and getting together?
So I was going to ask you, so it's you and Cindy that's going to be on that meeting, and I was going to ask you if you could meet next Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I don't know what schedules are like on Tuesdays.
so Tuesday we do have the meeting for the
Training.
WFRC,
Oh, okay. So
but it's in the evening, it's from 6, and it's a Zoom meeting from 6 to 9.
maybe we even could Wednesday.
Wednesday would be a better day for me.
If you two could on Wednesday.
Actually, I can't, I'm gone.
Okay. Okay. What if I just send out like a group text?
Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays are all good days for me.
Okay.
Yeah, Monday's fine. She's real busy Monday.
I'll send out a group text.
Okay.
With the two people off the planning commission, because I just want to for sure see, when we've met, that one time we kind of talked about it.
Right.
But I'd like to get some input so we know if we're doing separate parks and
Right.
recreation
And I
grants,
don't wanna
or
leave
if
you
we're
hanging,
doing
so-
One large, our major grant.
And I think, what did we feel? We talked about that for a while.
Well, there was 3 priorities,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
trying to remember.
we had mapped that out. I think one was the
Pickleball
playground and
I got another one.
Playground, I mean, parking lot.
and the parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're not going to apply to do the building, then we really could lump that, I think, all together and apply for it as a major grant. And I don't know how money's going to be, yeah, you know, we've applied for quite a few grants and have been pretty successful in getting those grants. But maybe next year we could even just apply for the major grant, maybe even only like one in each of the.
Just one phase or whatever, right?
They've already rolled over because we had the grant for Tomato Days. So I already had to fill out paperwork and they've already rolled that over till next year
Okay.
because we weren't able to spend the money. Bathroom money we've already spent, pavilion money we've already spent. The rodeo arena lights are in the process, we just had those poles, we received that engineering plan today. So that's already spent, we're getting another little house to use for Halloween Haunt and Tomato Days next year, we can use that. We received money for Halloween Haunt, so if I sound weird, if they come back and act shut down, then we'll have to turn that money back to you. Or we don't know. I don't know, today wasn't probably a good day to talk to them because, but you know what, look at Weaver County numbers, we're still low. It's not us that's causing the 900 spike.
Yeah, the spike was pretty
Plus,
crazy.
we did the fireworks that went off smooth. They approved our health fair that's, I think, will go smooth, which is kind of in our favor. If you already have showed as a community you can do these and everything's fine, we didn't have any outbreaks from fireworks. I don't really foresee any from our health fair, and that,
Well, thanks for all you do there.
well, no, thank you.
Well, maybe before we get started too, we could just look at the last item on the agenda, our city business. Consideration on a temporary land use regulation. If any of you have any questions about that or something you want to discuss before we start the meeting.
No, I think. No, for me.
So how long is the temporary consideration going to be for? Is there a time limit on it?
The general plan
6 months.
being completed.
There's
So the 6-month timeline or the general plan being completed?
there's language on the state of Utah page about this. That 6 months is the max.
It's the max.
Well, because of the state ordinance that we used, the 509, it really is a time that is connected to when the general plan is completed.
So it cannot exceed 6 months.
No, yes it can. It can exceed 6 months.
Okay, you guys gonna be talking to your mics, your nose gonna hear you.
Okay.
You can't hear us, Dan?
I can hear you, I don't need to hear you, they
You
can.
guys hear us now?
Oh, there we
We're
go.
in creamy.
So what does that say?
Oh, we did when we get to that.
Yeah. let's
Okay,
just-
all right. I'm just,
Is Reed's not going to be here and or Brandon? Is that correct?
They are not.
So we don't have any legal representation that will be here this evening?
504 extends it. You can extend it twice.
Right.
6 months should be long enough though.
We would hope. Meeting is on Tuesday.
So is there a reason other than they just wanted to?
They just want time.
Speak into your mic.
I'm just talking to them.
Oh, well. Okay.
That's all I would remember. I mean, we can ask that, but I don't
You
think
know,
so.
I have copies of both those state codes, and I thought I actually brought them out here with me, but I don't see them here.
509, and what was the other one?
509 is the one that we're doing this under the temporary land use regulation. The planning commission, if they have reason to believe that we have good reason to have a temporary land use regulation, and there could be a whole list of things. And those are the things we want to talk about tonight. Why is it that we, as we review this, do this comprehensive study of our general plan, why should it be in a static position? to where things aren't moving all the time we're trying to do the study. So we can review that as we go through the meeting tonight.
So did you find the other?
I just spent 504.
Does it extend it or?
You can, but it has to be approved. Let's see.
People here on the coalition, Madison and Nicole Stewart. They're just both going through presentations.
2 additional 6 months period. So,
Oh, and highway.
oh, that's a, there's only a highway?
Requested by the state's transportation.
Hey, Brian, can you forward that to me? So, yeah, I'm not sure what the intent that I took away from last meeting was in regards to the fact that we just didn't want to muddy the water. I did speak with a citizen today, and I'll share his comments
I'm gonna grab those.
when we get into it.
Reed's the one that provided it for me, so.
It's just a link.
Thanks.
This link's only to 504 though. I don't know what they're talking about with 509. I didn't see that one.
Do you remember exactly how the motion was made, that the planning commission made?
It's a motion to recommend.
We're gonna allow the existing stuff to move forward, but then,
Which is considered of what
Did
though?
they put, I thought it was while the general plan was open.
it was while the general plan is open was what was recommended.
Was the motion,
Yeah.
okay, that's what I thought.
But everybody that has their application in now is moving forward, or is that?
No, no.
Right.
Well,
See what I'm
I-
saying?
yeah.
think they made
and
exception.
there have been some that have been tabled, and those will be addressed when they're, I think November's when they were tabled.
They're saying
So, yeah.
without prejudice of the current ruling is what I think.
Yeah.
The gist of what was gonna.
So I think they're, yeah, I don't think they're, I guess being punished for.
Well, I should have called you sooner today.
Just wanna give me his version, so. Just so you know, I told him what I was gonna decide today,
I am.
so.
My concern is I feel like there's an agenda that's being pushed hardcore. It's not including us in the loop.
How do you say that? Oops. Office of the Property Rights. Ombudsman?
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 Yeah, ombudsman.
That's going to be for a citizen that's speaking in public comment.
You?
What is this?
So he wanted to give you his version of what the deal was, and he asked if I could support it, and I said, I'm not gonna tell you that. So how about that? Because I think it's only fair that we do.
I think you gotta hear everything,
Before I heard,
all the understandings, right?
well, I'm not gonna say something and be bound to that. Bull crap.
Oh, this is something
I think that's,
application for.
Corey used to do the same thing, by the way.
oh, I know. I got called
Oh,
a
you know
couple
what, I'm
times.
sure this is what they.
Corey would call you with the decision already been made though.
Yeah.
Denied, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, this isn't too far off from that.
Oh, I know.
This is a close relative.
We can't talk too open, but
No,
I
I
wish
know.
I could for a second.
I wish I could too. That being said, if it was a short period of time, I might support it. If there was a cut and dry time.
So, when we talk about it, talk to North Ogden, they put something similar in place, but it wasn't.
This.
So, it's like this not, geez, whenever we get to this,
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that's not fair.
leaves a lot of control in people's hands.
Do we want to talk?
The interesting thing is, they could,
procedures
city,
for vacant
through the general
lots
plan, could decide
or
bigger lot
maybe-
sizes would really damper the whole
I
deal.
don't know how-
But the problem is
we need
that everything gets rezoned, so that's gonna stop. If that's what they want, if that's what the Hooper City wants, the citizens, then the planning commission's gotta quit, approving rezones
Yeah, I would think,
for smaller, and that would solve part of the problem.
I feel bad. I feel really bad. I do too.
Talked to a couple citizens today too, and
No.
they said that's what they feel like it is over. The
I do
developers
too.
go in for acre lots, and then they get back and they get rezoned to half acre lots, and then next thing, what I'm saying, that's the game. Split game.
No, but I. He's a nice guy. He's a great guy. I feel bad for this. Stuff happens.
just for the fact that we have a
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't seem, yeah. It's too bad.
Shauna, so this was the contact information for somebody on that project. Did she tell you? Okay, okay.
So we do all three of those at once.
I guess what they can, 3 for.
3 for
Hey,
7 minutes.
Still coming.
Well, it is 7 o'clock and we welcome all of you here this evening. We think it's a beautiful evening on Thursday, September 17th, 2020 for Hooper City Council meeting. We have asked Councilman Hill if he will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And following that, Councilman Paulson will lead us in the reverence.
Please repeat with me. I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful to come before you this evening to be able to discuss the needs of our town. We're grateful for the place that we live and for the freedoms that we are able to partake of. We ask you to bless our local leaders and our national leaders that they might have wisdom and inspiration in order to lead our communities and nation the way that thou would have. We ask you to bless our nation and communities at this time as we continue to endure the epidemic that it's upon us, that we might be able to find relief from the effects of the coronavirus, and that through our officials and scientists we might come up with a solution to eradicate this virus from our communities and from the world. We're grateful for the many blessings we have and for the moisture that we've received, and ask you to continue to watch over this nation and this town. And we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Are all of you able to hear us all right? Clear in the back, we good? Okay, thank you for leading us in the pledge and having our reverence. At this time, we'll have a special presentation by the Fremont 5 CTC Coalition. CTC stands for Communities That Care. And we have Madison Kilpack and Nicole Stewart to make this presentation in recognition of our youth council.
so much for having us, by the way. We're really excited to be here, so thank you. So on behalf of the Fremont 5 Canadian That Care Coalition, we would like to recognize the Hooker, I'm sorry if I didn't say Hooker right, Youth City Council for their extraordinary efforts this past year. We appreciate the contributions to our community and recognize their efforts in building a strong, safe, and healthy community. Please join me in recognizing these youths. Okay, so first we would like to give special recognition to two of our Hooker Youth City Council members. These two have shown dedication, hard work, service, and have gone above and beyond, especially during the pandemic. Each of them will receive a gift card to a Crumble Cookie as well as a certificate. So first, we would like to recognize Haley Chuck. So Hallie is the youth council mayor and goes above and beyond in everything that she does to help with Hooker City Youth Council. Second, we would like to recognize Carter Matson Solomon. Carter goes above and beyond by constantly volunteering and showing up at 100%. So as I continue to read out the Youth City Council members' names, we ask that you just hold your applause till the end. Drew Farnsworth and Camille Taylor.
Looks like they came dressed up. Ryan's gonna do the backdrop.
Here in the background.
But do the smile. Smile, Ryan.
There's mine.
Or Cindy is maybe, I don't know. Smile, Cindy. You're gonna exactly.
Hopefully they get the no.
Exactly.
Well, Madison and Nicole, thank you very much. We really appreciate that. Okay, at this time, we'll ask the city council, members of the city council, if there are any conflicts of interest or anything like that that ought to be disclosed at this time as we move through the agenda. As you reviewed the agenda, do you have any conflicts of interest?
No.
Okay, on approval of the minutes, we have 3 sets. The first one being our Fremont Island meeting minutes from July 28th, 2020. As we reviewed that earlier in the staff meeting, or we received them before that, do you have any questions on that? Sean, I have a question. Could we approve all of these together, or do they have to be approved separately? One motion. Okay, so I'll work, stop me if you have any questions on these minutes. The next one being from our work session meeting minutes on August 20th, 2020. And our last set of minutes being from our city council meeting minutes on August 6th, 2020. So if there aren't any questions or amendments that need to be made to those, I would entertain a motion.
I don't see anything. I move that we accept the minutes following from the Fremont Island meetings, the work session meetings on the 20th of August, the city council meetings on August 6th.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councilman Paulson to approve all 3 sets of minutes. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Councilman Osler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that was unanimous. Okay, next on the agenda is the financial reports from both July and August of 2020 through 2021. Well, we haven't started in 2021 yet, but Do you have any questions about those that we haven't discussed earlier? Okay, and so we really don't need a motion to approve those or anything, it's just a matter of you reviewing those and feel all right about them. Okay, next on our agenda, we have a citizen's comment. And these comments, I'm sure, will be related to what our agenda item is next, and that's on a temporary land use regulation. And I would just like to take just a minute to share with the citizens here, as well as the council. This is taken from Hooper City's general plan. And as most of you are aware, our last planning commission meeting, they made a motion and approved there be a comprehensive study of Hooper City. And where we are today, that comprehensive study is a whole list of things, from parks and trails to our sewer, to primary water, to secondary water, to our roads, or any other concerns that we may have as citizens as growth has taken place over the last several years, how this is impacting us as citizens. So in reviewing our general plan handbook, one of the policies that's written in there is that it provides for an annual review of the general plan by the Planning and Zoning Commission and a comprehensive review every 5 years to ensure that the goals and policies of the plan are realistic, attainable, and consistent with the wishes of the community. And I just want to emphasize that. It's with the wishes of the community. It's all of us that live here in Hooper. Then we would want to adopt and enforce ordinances that promote a high standard of design and protect agricultural use to the greatest extent possible. And I'm sure that was placed in there because that's what Hooper was originally founded on.
Mayor?
Yes.
Point of order.
Yes.
We should be heading into citizens' comments. I think there's a time to discuss purpose of the legislation before us after citizens' comments. I don't know why we're speaking about it before.
Okay, well, I thought it would help to give an understanding as to why that was on the agenda in the first place, for those who were not in attendance from our commission meeting a week ago. They want to know what we're talking about. So as an introduction to this on land use, an important component of the general plan is an analysis of existing land use. This type of analysis takes a look at the city at a static point in time, allowing for the examination of past and present development trends and giving light to the positive and negative factors which have shaped the city into its present form. Hopefully, this process will help the city avoid duplicating past land use problems while capitalizing on those factors which have proven to be successful. The existing land use survey should be consulted in conjunction with other background studies dealing with environmental features, population, economics, as well as the city's goals, objectives, and policies in formulating a future land use plan for Hooper City. So I felt that was a good background as to why the commission made that motion a week ago and why we're now meeting here tonight and having that again on the city council to bring that up as far as continuing that discussion. So at this time, we will open up for a public comment. We would encourage all of you to come forward and speak into the microphone and make sure all of us can hear. And we want you to feel just as comfortable as you can in coming up. And so at this time, we would like to invite public comment.
Mary Simpson at 4311 South, 5900 West in Hooper. And I would just like to express my personal opinion that I think it's imperative that our city council give us a chance to look at our future general use plan at a given point in time. And the only way that our planning commission can do that is if we pick a static point, which should be, as of today, that there be no more land use changes, so that we can then formulate a plan and be able to present it to our citizens and let them have a voice in how things will go forward at a given point in time. We can't keep changing land uses while we're trying to determine what we're going to do with the city. It needs to be a static point in time, and that point should be as of today. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Martin Taylor, and I live at 4497 South, 5225 West, Hooper. And I've talked in previous sessions about this meeting, and I'm happy to hear that we're looking for input and we can possibly have some voice in what happens in our future. But I wasn't here last week, but I did hear of some of the recommendations. What I want to know is, once you gather all this information, you have a so-called list. How are you going to determine what the people want and what the committee wants? How's that going to be decided?
You know, I wonder if maybe the chairman of that committee, which is your planning commission that just spoke, can you address that, Mary, or would you rather?
Because I know you have a lot of information. I just want to know how you're going to gather it, and then how you're going to present your recommendation. And once you have a recommendation, is that going to be presented to the community to vote yes or no?
There's no question about that. We hope to have several workshops when the community can turn out, and this may take some time to get all the information that we need to do this comprehensive study.
As a planning commission, we intend to send out a survey, hopefully a mailing to every household in Hooper that will have questions, and allow your written input so that we can tabulate those items and take them into consideration. We have gathered up an advisory committee composing of some council members, some planning commission members, and citizens, and there'll be 11 or 12 of us on that committee. We're meeting with Wasatch Front Regional Council, who will give us some input and guidance, and we will formulate 1, 2, or 3 plans that then will be presented to the citizenship in open house type fashion, where you will be able to come in and have your voice heard and vote on and give your input on what you think is best for Hooper. So your first point of ability to have your voice be heard is by responding to the mailing that was going to come out in your mailbox in the next few weeks.
Johnson, 6471 West, 5100 South in Hooper. I guess I'm wanting some clarification, because I'm hearing that we need to stop and look and see where we are at a given point in time, which I agree with.
But then I'm also hearing about this long process that allows people to express opinions and go back and forth. And so I guess I have no objection at all to stopping and taking a look to see, okay, exactly where are we now? What is our usage? What's going on? But I don't think that period of time needs to be extended then through the entire planning process. I think you need to get base data and then go on from there with the planning project rather than holding everything up while the entire project goes forth. Thank you.
My name is Beverly Parker Bailey. I'm here representing the H.L. Parker Farms. I talked last week about our petition that's already gone before the Planning Commission. We are a long-term family in Hooper. Our roots go clear back to the pioneers. And we, as a family, have a need to do some developing, to settle some of the trust that I've been given the charge to be responsible for. We have requested a rezone of 18 acres, which I understand will be heard in October. I guess what I understood happened last week, if I understood correctly, there was an answer given that we would be able to get an answer on that in November. I just want to, I guess, verify that is true. The thing is, we've gone to a lot of expense, a lot of time, a lot of trouble to develop just 8 lots. And it took us 3 years to do that. We finally were able to get those done. It took a lot of time and trouble to meet all of the requirements that Hooper City asked us to do. And we don't want to have to go through another 3 years. So I guess I'm asking if we've already put in an application for a rezone. And I would like to say we do care very much about Hooper. The lots that we sold that were on the Davis County side, we were very happy that several of the people that bought those lots were children who were raised in Hooper, and we're thrilled to be able to get a lot in Hooper. The thing is, we need to have an answer sooner rather than later. So since our lots that we would like to develop are in the current general plan, which we understand would be appropriate to rezone, and we're asking to have them to go to half an acre. We're not asking, high density. It's a half acre. We would feel like it was fair, since we've already submitted that request and followed all of the guidelines, paid the fees and everything, that request, or anybody else's that's been put in before, say, last week's meeting or today, that we are considered under the guidelines of the general plan as it stood when we submitted it, and that we're not put off for a great length of time while this study is going on. We followed the guidelines as they stand today, and so we feel like, in fairness to us, that's how we should be treated, as what the general guidelines are now for the general plan. And I would like to have you, if you want to see the kind of homes that we have in our CCRs, they are actually over the Davis County line, so they're not officially Hooper, but all of the people down there, interestingly enough, think that they are Hooper citizens, even though they may not officially be.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So my understanding from that issue from the meeting, can you hear me? From the meeting last week is that the city attorney addressed that, and he said that issue was tabled and that it will move forward and it will be addressed at the November Planning Commission meeting.
That's correct.
So that is moving forward, that will be addressed. November.
I'm Gene King, 5137 South, 6300 West out in Hooper. The question I have is the planning commission goes forward with the work, is there a process that will keep the public informed? You know, whether it's monthly or meetings, you know, I prefer to see it come out somewhere on a website, but I just want to make sure that we know what they're looking at, progress they're making. Does that make sense, that question?
It absolutely makes sense, and that's why we want all the citizens to be part of this. I don't think we can tell you enough that this is our city. Hooper is our city. So, no, we want you to be very much involved in that.
Well, I just wanted the process you have to get the information out to everybody.
Shauna?
City council meetings?
Can you maybe give him an idea of like how we're gonna broadcast that information out and what the process is?
Yeah, so just so everyone is aware, so right now there's a new section on the webpage under community development that is strictly for a Hooper City general plan. So as the kickoff meeting starts, as new meetings are scheduled, those will all be listed on there. The way we have formatted this advisory committee is all these agendas will be public. So they'll be listed on the public state notice website, and then they'll also be listed on our city website. So everyone is welcome to those as well. As we work towards trying to make sure we're in compliance with COVID and state standards, there may be some limitations going forward with how many people we can have in the building, especially as we're moving into colder weather for part of this, but we'll work through that as for each meeting. But outside of that, citizens will be notified on the website, through flyers that will go right into their home, in the newsletter, things like that.
Thanks, Shauna. Hey, I also believe that we have some great citizens that are really good at taking the agendas off of our website and throwing them out on Facebook to multiple of the Hooper sites. So if you're not getting them from Hooper's official website, you'll probably see them through your Facebook feeds if you're on social media.
I have a couple questions. Who represents my district?
What's your address again?
5067 South, 5300 West.
Yeah, it's Chris, yeah.
I am right. I have that. I'm right on the corner. I'm on the corner of Hooper Landing.
According to this map, it would be Chris Cave.
Chris Cave.
And he is not here tonight.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask Mary, the committee that you talked about, how did you get the citizens on the committee? Were they volunteers or did you select them? Or have you done that yet?
We have established an advisory committee, did that through asking people around, trying to get citizens involved and asking.
So how did that information come out? Because I didn't hear that. And I was simply up here. You didn't either?
It's all what you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
Well,
find out.
we invited several citizens.
How were those citizens selected?
Nobody showed up. So if there was this
By
many
invitation
people, there was
only?
like 2 or 3, 4 people at the open houses. So I tell you that. You want me on the commission at that time? Yeah, I was on city council.
Let's see if we can bring that discussion back up front here. So Natalie, what is it you're talking about?
My question is to Mary, the committee that she talked about, the advisory committee, she said will have people on it, and one of the things she mentioned were citizens, and I want to know how those citizens were selected. Were they selected by you all? It sounds to me like it was by invitation only from the council. I didn't hear about it. There's a couple of people up here that didn't know anything about it.
This selection was not done by the council. The selection was presented to the council for approval. I also question the same process, ma'am.
And where did,
We didn't,
Who
when
was
did we
invited?
have it presented to us?
What,
When did we have it
2
presented?
meetings ago, we voted on the steering committee. That will be over this.
And the names?
Mike Venable,
Okay.
there were several names that were read off. I believe I had a comment for that group, if you remember right. It would definitely be, or should be in our
Yeah.
minutes. but I don't know if it's been published anywhere as a format of who's on that committee.
And I don't know that that was the final committee.
I thought we approved them, so
So,
I'd have to pull up past minutes.
I find it very interesting that certain people are invited and certain of us were not, and none of us knew about it, so.
Well, all of you will have a part to play in this. These are just, each one of these will be assigned a particular area, whether it be, parks and trails, or it might be historical sites. Everyone will be assigned an area, and then you'll have a big part to play in as we put these meetings together.
so I was on the planning commission,
No.
I was on the planning commission when we did the last general plan. My suggestion to you is, and I believe the letter that came out, had Mary Simpson's phone number on, it had her email on. Did anyone call you or respond to? Where, was it? Was it in the newsletter? Okay, my suggestion is, this is step one in a very, very long process. I would make sure, if you are interested, there, like Mayor just said, there are many committees that are going to be formed from this. This is, like I say, it's a long process. Give her your name and your information. I believe we want citizen input. We want, if you're interested, the city is interested.
Well, the point is it wasn't a fair selection. It went out to certain individuals or some email address. A lot of us didn't get it. The point is not that we want to be involved later. We wanted to be involved now, and we all didn't get a chance to say, hey, we want to be on that committee. That didn't happen. That's my point.
Well, the direction for this committee is under the Wasatch Front Regional Council, and they suggested 8 to 10 people.
And that's okay, but again, my point is...
I understand. I got your point.
Okay. I want to say that we are becoming a bigger city every day, and a lot of us do not want it. We love the way Hooper is now. We don't want our home to be a big city. My personal opinion is that we need to put a freeze on everything now, because there's been a lot of damage already done, and I'm sorry, I got your body language there. So there's been a lot of damage done already, and if you allow things to continue to go through, it's just going to add more damage until this study is done. It is going to take a long time to do this, because you need to do a thorough review, and not just let everything go through that's been there, because things are happening, the water, the sewer, everything is happening, and we're feeling the impact. And if you allow it to go through, it's going to get even worse. So the study is going to be long, it needs to be long, it needs to be thorough, and if you're going to do it, you need to do it right, and you need to take the time to do it and show it the attention that it needs. You guys, we're talking about the future of Hooper here. We're not just some willy-nilly town. We care about this city, and we want it to be done right.
My name is Summer Creel Jones. I'm at 6283 West, 5800 South in Hooper. And I just want to kind of give my opinion that we need to do a long study as well. I live on the corner of one of the lots that are up right now, and we need to make sure we have the infrastructure, the roads. We're going to have a lot of kids in there. We don't have enough room in our school as it is. We need to make sure we have schools in place where we can fit our kids in there, where they can get the education they need, and the roads so that our kids don't get hit with all the cars coming down on our small town roads. I just wanted to share my opinion that I think we also need to have a freeze on it, and I second the others when we say we need to do a thorough study and put a freeze on things until we come to a decision. And that's not saying that those that already have a spot, like if they already have it set as a 1 acre, they should be able to go ahead and keep building because it's already zoned for that. But this is for any rezones, in my opinion, that we need to put a moratorium and stop it until we can come up with the infrastructure and the plan that's needed for our town.
my name is Amber Self, and I don't physically live in Hooper, sorry, but I own a 4-acre parcel out here that I bought about 4 years ago. One thing that I wanted to say is that I echo the need, like the mayor said, to have a planner that knows all the boxes that need to be checked off. So, kind of as a situation with my lot, when I purchased it, I did my due diligence, and I thought I called and asked all the right questions, and I found out that I didn't. Each time I called someone different, I got a different answer. And so now that's led to a very, very frustrating experience for me. And with my engineering, it's led to 3 change orders at $750 a piece. I still don't have answers on what I need to do with my lot to have it built, and I've been working on it for a long time, and at this point I've kind of just given up. And so what I would say is that we do need a planner that, and maybe a little bit more training, to be honest, with the people that give the answers on the phone, because when someone's calling to get answers on building or developing or so forth, depending on who they talk to, it's a different answer. And so, at least in my experience, I should say. And so, I really appreciate that you want to really look into hiring the planner that the city needs, because I do think that they need to be a very, very well-educated person, and they need to understand the different things that are in place and the boxes that need to be checked off, so that we have one person that we can call to get answers on what we need to do. So there's that. And then the second thing that I would like to bring up is that for me, I just want to put in one home on this lot. So it's a little bit shy of 4 acres. I just want to put in one single family home. And the things that I have to do are equivalent to what an actual developer that puts in multiple units would have to do, including curb and gutter in a subdivision that has no curb and gutter at all, cutting in a complete cul-de-sac into my own property for turnarounds. And it's created a lot of issues with my neighbors, because nobody wants to see curb and gutter in there. Nobody wants to see a giant cul-de-sac at the end of 5275. And so what I would suggest maybe is, one, finding a planner that can answer all the questions, and there's one contact. 2, considering having a system for properties that don't fit into neat boxes. Maybe look at something a little bit different when you're just trying to put in one home and keep the land agricultural use, versus I'm not trying to develop and put in multiple homes. And so I think that might be kind of beneficial, to have a process that everyone understood what they were doing and they could make their decisions and their plans, instead of paying $750 every time you're changing your engineering because you're getting a different answer. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
Thanks.
My name is Louis Meyer, 4555 South, 4300 West. I own some property in Hooper, and when you purchase property, we bought the Whittison property, and we bought it under the impression that we used the laws that were, the ordinances that were on the records at the time we bought it. And at this point, we have it at a rezone, and we're in the process of developing that piece of ground. We paid the Whittison fairly for it because we knew we could do it, because that was the law and that was the ordinance on the books now. To change that at this point puts us in a terrible position. And of course that causes consternation to me and to Brad Buse, who's a lifetime resident here. We called the state ombudsman about property rights. And it's interesting this would happen on Constitution Day, of all days. life, liberty, and pursuit of property, pursuit of happiness. And to actually give the right to take control of my property to you, I'm real nervous about that. Because, as you can see, there's unfairness all around. You create a committee of like-minded people, and they're all going to think the same. That wasn't done fairly, and for me to give the right to you to take charge of my property, I don't feel good about that, and that's not fair. In fact, the ombudsman said I had to write it down. In order to do a moratorium, there has to be an immediate, compelling, imminent danger to life and health of citizens, as in death and dismemberment. If you want, I don't think anybody questions studying the plan, but to do so in a static matter, you got to have an impelling interest to do so. And I don't think anyone will just lay down flat and let you walk all over them. So I just hope you'll take that in consideration. It's a matter, even if you do come up with a plan, they only give you 180 days to do so. So it isn't as if you're in control of forever. You only have a certain amount of time to do that.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Louis.
Sheldon Greener, I live at 5638 South, 6800 West. I've been to almost every city council meeting and city planning meeting for the last 14 months. And I guess my comment's more for the people here in my time watching these meetings go on. I think my biggest frustration is with the future land use map. Basically, it looks to me, and I'm not saying I know everything, but the way it looks to me is that when something goes to the city planning commission and then to you guys, you basically just say, oh, on this future planning map, done. So my point to the people here is, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this on my phone. This is the current Hooper map. The white is R1 and the brown is R2. So that gives you an idea of how much more ground is set to be changed into R2 over the coming years. And I would just like to say to the people here, I think that what we should do is not have a future land use map that basically just rubber stamps things. What we should do is the discussion should happen at the time of the meeting, at the planning meeting, the people around. Because what happens, I watch it time and time again. People come in. I've lived in this area for 40 years. I have 1 acre lots. Everybody around me has 1 acre lots. And now the ground behind me is going to R2. And, it's not something that they had planned on, because one, they didn't even know anything about the future land use map. And it's not really fair to them either. So I would just like to have that, they come in, they voice their opinions, and it's like it doesn't even matter. So I would like to see that change. That's what I hope that we can accomplish in the whatever this is. Thanks.
Yes.
Mary Simpson, 4311 South, 5900 West, here in Hooper. And Sheldon, I would just like to tell you that that's the absolute purpose of why we're wanting to do modifications to our general plan, is so that our citizens can come in and look at the map the way it's laid out now and tell us how they'd like it different. If they don't want that R2 overlay that covers most of Hooper, let's change it. And we can only change that if we get the voice of our people telling us that that's what they want to do. It's not just going to be up to the Planning Commission. It's going to be an input from all of our people. When we have open houses, we'll have maps on the wall. You'll be able to say, I don't like this outline. What about this outline? I'd like this to be R2. This is my opinion. We'll get surveys from all of our people. And then once the citizens say, okay, well, we like plan A or B or C or D, then the planning commission will make a recommendation to the city council to adopt it. So that in the future, when somebody says, well, you just have to rubber stamp it because it's already zoned for R2, it's overlaid with an R2 plan because the citizens that live in Hooper in 2020 have voiced their opinion and said, this is what we want. So that's what the planning commission is trying to do, is hear your voices. So I hope that everybody that's here will make their voices heard. Thank you.
I'm Kathy Lively. I live at 7353 West, 5300 South in Hooper. And I just, all of us have something here that we want to protect and save. We have a reason we moved here, and I don't know how we're going to pull it off, but we've all got things we want to protect. We moved here for a reason, we built here for a reason, and somehow we've got to cover everybody. But the biggest problem that I see is that no matter how hard we try or how hard we pretend, we don't have businesses, we don't have infrastructure. We're not that place. We're not freaking West Haven. We don't have 1900s running through the middle of it. We just don't have that, and we need to respect that. Because dragging more crap out here and, pretending little businesses popping up isn't going to support it. It's going to be, our tax base is going to be on the backs of the people who live here. And I worry that there's going to be this panic and need that we have to just chop everything up into little pieces to get a better tax base. And I really, really don't want to see that happen. We have our little neighborhoods. I was just noticing, driving down here, we have our neighborhoods that don't have to have a curb and gutter. We're a neighborhood, We don't have to have big barrier fences built around our neighborhood facing the road because they've got to squish as many houses into this little subdivision as they can, and that means some of those houses are going to face the road backwards. We need to protect what we have because we have something really special. That's all I gotta say.
I'm Janet Arby King. I live at 5137 South, 6300 West. And I have kind of a unique perspective on this because I was born and raised here. I lived here till I got married. Then I not only left Hooper, but I left the state for 30 years, just coming back for visits. I've seen Hooper change. I understand that everybody wants this to be the same small Hooper it's always been. However, growth is inevitable. It's going to happen. We just can't stop it all. As far as infrastructure, we had more grocery stores when I was a young kid than we do now. We used to have the little neighborhood grocery stores. We had more than one gas station. Those kind of things were always here, and everybody supported them. I understand that people move here now. They want to have their larger acreage and everything, but some of us are from old Hooper families and old farming families, and everyone in our family has moved away. So we really need to sell our land. Our kids, we all have kids. We have grandkids, some of us, and not everybody wants to live in Hooper. I don't know why. So some of us are in the position that we really need to sell this land, and we're not going to get anything out of it if we do it at 1 acre. So we really would like to have it changed to R2. So I think that we have to also consider the families like ours, at the same time respecting everybody that moved out here to have more acreage and have that wide open field. I just think that growth is inevitable, and we have to do it in a smart way. We have to plan that infrastructure. We have to plan for it to grow, so that when it does grow, we're not sitting around saying, oh, well, we don't have the schools, we don't have the roads. We kind of have to, that has to be part of the plan when we decide where we want to go. So that's it. Thank you.
Deanna Buck, can't remember my address, 6070 West, 5200 South. Listening to the Parkers and the Whittisons, and I'm aware of two other situations where people are trying to build here. They have worked on it for years, and every time they think, like, we've gone through all the hoops that they've told me to do, now here's another hoop. Anyhow, to me it's just dishonest for them to have to work for 3 years and still have more hoops to jump through. They should have been told about the hoops at the very beginning, and I think they should be grandfathered in and be able to build on the rules that were in place when they made their first application. Thank you.
Deborah Maragoni, 5245 South, 5100 West. Our family's been out here for a very long time. I used to work for the Sheriff's Department in Davis County, and I watched the uncontrollable growth there without any consideration for infrastructure. I know that they say things are going to grow, but there's no need for us to grow like that. We aren't a place that someone makes an effort to come to. People will go to Layton for the stores. I just can't see as big a place that has a Walmart or, you know, a big store out here. So when people want to sell their land, I don't know why we have to go for the quarter acres or the half acres or stuff. I don't know. People make good money off the land because there's no more land. I don't know why we can't maybe just have our lots a little bit bigger. And, you know, it's just, this is kind of a place that when you've lived here forever, it's a legacy for your family. And if you don't want to live here, that's fine. You can still make good money off your land, selling it into another family, another way, other people. But I live on 5100 West. It used to be a lazy, slow road. It is now a freeway. If the Whittison land is turned into a huge subdivision, I won't even be able to get my mail anymore. I have to make dashes out to the mailbox. And be careful, Brent and I can't even work in the front yard and talk to each other. That's how busy our road is. And everyone's driving 50 or 60 miles an hour down there. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ada Parker Bugert, and I just would like to bring up the fact, I don't know if people really have read this, but right now, the town of Hooper is the richest town in Utah. The article is right here. It is a place people want to come, and the reason why is because it's become a drive-to community that people can afford to live in. And not everyone that wants to live here wants a full acre, and quite frankly, most people that have a full acre, and I'm not saying everyone, but a lot of full acres don't get well cared for. And some get very well cared for, but some people don't have the knowledge or the know-how to take care of a full acre. It's a lot of work. I did it for 25 years. I sold my acre. I live on a much smaller lot, and I'm grateful for it now. It's a lot of work to take care of a full acre. I'm not saying that it should all be half acres either. I think that there's a way to do both. You know, growing up out here, I love Hooper. I love that my grandkids still go to school out here. I don't necessarily love the changes, but they're gonna come. You know, you've got, right now what Hooper is not what Hooper was. What we have now is your old communities, your old people that are dying off, the farmers, just like my parents, our parents. And they're stuck in kind of that community. And then outside of that, you've got some huge houses, huge communities that have been stuck in the middle of that. That's not Hooper. That's not Hooper what Hooper was, and I'm not sure that's what Hooper's future is either. There is a balance that can be done there, and I'm sure that every one of you and every one of them and all of us are intelligent enough people to figure out how to balance that. You know, there was an article recently written in the New York Times about how America is re-embracing small town America. We have gone back to it. And Hooper never really left. Hooper's always been small town America. That's what we love. And you can still keep small town America with the way the houses are built, the way the houses are placed, the way the infrastructure is done. You can keep small town America in Hooper and keep Hooper traditional and still progressive. And that's what the balancing act is. And I think that takes over past families and the future families. So.
Thank you, Ada.
Bryce Wilcox, 4152 South, 5350 West in Hooper. And I just live off of 4,000, and anyone that lives off that road knows if you turn right or left, it's a dangerous proposition. Is it going to hit me in the rear or front? So I just want to give you the summary results of last week. I wrote them all down in the book, their names and kind of their comments. There was 27 people that spoke. 23 of them were for the slower growth, kind of what we were proposing, and 4 were against. That's 85%. And so I think we need to, I'm not against non-development. You know, if you've already been rezoned, you're good to go. I think we need to take a look at what we're doing. You know, I've been following the construction of the Raiders Stadium over the last several years. It's quite an impressive thing. And one of the last tests that they did to make sure things worked is that every toilet or fixture, when they turned it on at the same time, flushed at the same time to see if it worked. Because they couldn't kind of put the cart before the horse and have everybody there and have a problem. That's kind of where we're at right now. We need to kind of look at, hey, are our roads going to work? Is our sewer going to work? Is our water? Those kind of things. We need to kind of do a flush test, whatever that might look like. And one more point, Mrs. Zuick, kind of maybe our selection process was a little flawed. I was asked to look at commercial development as well as transportation, and I was just asked to go out and get some names. And so I got some names, and I said, will you please go out and talk to your friends and neighbors? So I would invite you to step on our committee and help us in that process on looking at commercial development. And anyone that could send me an email, we'd love your input. Yeah, maybe there was a flaw in it, but how else do we do it? At least the ball's rolling, and I think we're on the right track. And there again, I'm for landowners, but I think we got to do it responsibly. The landowners have a responsibility to the rest of the citizens to do it correctly. Thank you.
So, I'm George Buck, at 6070 West, 5200 South. I'd like to echo again what my wife said, that those who have been in the process of acquiring land, probably we need to respect their position. On the other side of the coin, I have to echo what the gentleman just said, and that is that I think one of the reasons that this has come up is that the developers who have developed land out here haven't always looked at the impact on the community. They've looked at, you know, the impact on them and the people they sell their houses to, but not necessarily on the people who live here. And so one of the reasons that this has come up is because we want to have the developers follow through with what they say and respect Hooper as a community, not just as a development. So my plea is that in the meantime, we have the developers that work out here follow through and have some process where we make sure that they are looking at what's best for the community, not just what's best for them.
Well, that took a long time. I must be getting old. My wife said, don't fall down the stairs, you'll look pretty silly. I'm Bruce Taylor. I live at 4745 West in Hooper. I've been here in resident for 48 years. My purpose today is to refresh our concerns that were addressed at a meeting held last February 13th with the Planning Committee. My view was targeted against Hooper Water District seeking to obtain a conditional use permit for a culinary water facility, which would include a 25-foot tall cement tank with 107-foot wide with a deep well. Also, a water treatment plant, including a 60 by 60-foot building. Back in the February meeting, the Planning Committee denied their request. Some of the reasons as to this they were denied was Hooper Water District bought an existing home with 3 acres solely to capture the 2 acres behind it for their water tank. They fully intend to sell the home with 1 acre and require a 30-foot easement to get to the back 2 acres that they wanted for the water facility, 1 way in and 1 way out. Because this is at the top of 5100 South and 4700 West, this water tank would be basically in the backyard of 10 existing homes, which have all been there for over 40 years or more, including mine. Normally, when a water tank is put in, like the one in Roy, the tank is located in a large open area, and then the homes are built around it as they choose to live there. Hooper is not like Roy. We have acres and acres of fields available. The Hooper Water District facility would be built in an area zoned for residential purpose only, not a large business facility. Instead of selling this home and property after being denied in February 13 and looking for a new property elsewhere, they have no intention of buying another property. The Hooper Water District has rented the home out for 1 year until they can get this project approved by the Planning Committee. Going forward with the opening of the general plan, I would ask that we be aware of their intentions. Probably most of you don't care where this water facility is or this 25-foot tall tank. But since it's not in your backyard, but it is in mine, and it is like a tall condominium being put in your backyard. In their own words, they have 5 to 20 years before this will actually take place, and plenty of time to find the right and appropriate location. I ask that we all be aware of their intentions of doing the right thing and putting it in the right place. Okay, thank you, Bruce.
And I handed out a handout to all of you that show exactly where this plant is and where all of the homes are around right in our backyards. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Amber Kelso, 5181 South, 5950 West. And I'll be short. I kind of expressed last time that I do have a deep love for Hooper. I've lived out here. I don't really want to date myself, but I am 40. I've lived out here 35 of those years. And I've also seen a lot of changes come to Hooper, and some are good and some are bad. And I just want to say that I'm not against responsible development, but I do support this moratorium that's being put before us, before the council. Honestly, no matter when you freeze this, there are going to be people who stand to profit that are not going to be happy. There's not going to be a perfect time to make this freeze because there's always going to be somebody who has plans. It stands to reason that now that people know that we're looking at changing this general plan, that we're going to have an influx of those petitions because they're going to want to get in under that wire. So the decision that you guys make is going to determine whether all of these people that have this influx to get in under this wire are put forth. But we need to really think about the citizens that currently live here and the infrastructure, as people have mentioned, with schools and water and all of those things that are going to affect us as citizens and the burdens that will be placed on us. I kind of don't get, and I know I don't understand a lot about politics and, financial worries of those things, but I kind of don't understand when people say that they can't get a profit off selling their farm in the state that it is. It's hard for me to understand that, because you can still sell your farm for a profit, just maybe not the profit of a development. A farm's what you own, it's what you inherited. No one is blocking the sale of that land as far as I know, and maybe I don't understand all of the ins and outs of what's going on here. Again, I'm not against development, but we need to take a good look at where we're at and do things responsibly, and I support what the Planning Commission is trying to do. I think they're trying to genuinely get everyone's input and do things the right way. I don't think that there's any dishonesty involved. Anyway, that's all I really have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Leslie Harris. I live at 4139 South, 5500 West. I just want to agree with some of the things that have been said tonight. I think that it is time for us to look at that general plan, and it is time for the citizens to have a say in what happens with our town. I think it feels like, I don't know if this is the truth or not, but it feels like developers are calling a lot of shots here and telling us what our town will look like. And I think it's time that the citizens say what our town will look like. And if it's necessary that we put a temporary hold on development while we do this, if that's what's necessary to happen, then I think that's what we need to do. Thanks.
Chip Kelso, 5181 South, 1550 West. I just wanted to come up and say that I support the freeze on the on everything while they figure out the land development. I can definitely feel for the families who are trying to sell off their land. I understand partially where they come from. I come from the skiing family out in Plain City, and they've gone through a lot of this as well. But you can't subdivide at the expense of the current residents, and it seems like a lot of the people that want to subdivide don't live here, don't plan to live here, or moving out. And we need to think about the residents that are here, that want to stay here, and not driving down their property value at the expense of driving up someone else's. And another thought that I had was, I brought my scouts one time to a city council meeting, and it was about a rezoning, and there was a whole bunch of concerned citizens that didn't want to rezone, and they expressed that, and then the city council just went ahead and gave them all a rubber stamp. Rezone complete, and all my scouts looked at me like, what just happened? And I think that's kind of what needs to stop, is if it's zoned for a certain zone, it needs to stay that zone. You shouldn't just rubber stamp whenever somebody wants to rezone it. It doesn't seem right when all the citizens come in and express concern, and it was originally set up as a specific zone, and now you just change it. So those are my thoughts and my concerns on this. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. You guys okay? Need a break? All right. Beautiful night for a meeting. Thanks for holding us outdoors to accommodate all of us. So the wife sprayed me down with mosquito repellent, so I'm in good shape. So Travis Bates, I live at 5008 West, 4950 South, over in Upper Landings. First, I do have a question for you guys. You've been getting a lot of input, but as we're talking about a moratorium on the plan and building these commissions and building this, Do we have time frames at all, or is it way too early to even start discussing that? Second part of that question is, as we do generate those time frames, what kind of benchmarks are going to be put in place to make sure we meet those time frames? Okay, that's my question, but I do have a little bit of input. I'm a little bit concerned with transparency and communication. A little bit of fuzzy math going on how members were selected for committees. We don't know really how it was communicated. We're not sure if it was in a newsletter or an email or a direct mailer. So I would really encourage both the Planning Commission and the City Council and this commission that is being formed that we're a little more transparent. We communicate a little more timely. I mean, there are things out there right now that, you know, I'm not sure how many people tuned in for your Zoom meeting about Antelope Island, which, listening to the conversation earlier, it sounds like that's dead, but look, this is a huge issue. We were talking anywhere from 1 residence to 2,000 houses or doors on Antelope Island. That's a pretty big deal. Or not Antelope, but on Fremont Island. That's a pretty big deal, and that should be timely. So that information is not available to the citizens. Our notes haven't been updated. The minutes haven't been updated, which I understand we have to approve them first. But the transparency and the timeliness and genuine communication has got to improve on this. Otherwise, the citizens just aren't going to trust this process. Thank you. There was a question in there.
Oh, so I don't know if we have an exact time frame. That will be up to the Planning Commission as they run things out along with the committee. Is that correct, Mayor?
That's correct. I think all of you have a copy of what the Wasatch Front Regional Council has put together. There is time frames, so there will be things that are calendared and done, we hope, in a real timely manner, and that all of you will be aware of when those take place. All the meetings, just so you know, Travis, all the meetings will be public meetings. All of them will be. So even though you'll have a schedule of those.
It'll all be posted.
Yeah, it'll all be posted.
But, and I understand, and excuse me, I know my time is up, and I understand that there will be meetings, but a lot of us work, right? You guys work just like we do. How timely will those minutes and stuff be available to the citizens so that when we get home at midnight, we can pull up that information and find out what was discussed and what decisions were made on our behalf?
Well, I can say, I hope real time. Like if you want me to put like, will it be within 12 hours or 6 hours? I don't know how I would answer that question, but even if there's a concern at the time that we need to do better, I mean, as we start working through this, and as we see areas that we need to improve on, we can always do better and be better. So if you'll just help us in knowing that, I think we can. I don't think there's a member of this council or a member of our commission that would not want to be totally transparent with what we're doing. We want you involved. So we'll really do our best, and I hope you'll help us in doing that.
And if I just might say, so I don't know how the rest of the city councils feel, so I won't speak for them, but I have a city email, and I am more than willing to take phone calls and have discussions. With whatever knowledge I have, I would be glad to talk to you. I spent some time this afternoon before this meeting speaking with a citizen that had wrote me an email that was concerned about some discussions that went on last meeting and why did I feel this way, why did I not. Look, I'm here to represent the people that put me in the position, and so feel free to catch me, talk to me. We may agree, we may disagree, but at least you'll know where we stand, and I'll listen to your input and try to forge my path so that I vote the conscience of the people that I represent.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that, because I am a constituent of yours. So I'm Andrew Warwood. I live at 5201 West, 4175 South in Hooper, Utah, obviously. And I just wanted to say, I was defeated a few months ago when I went to a planning commission, and I voiced some concerns that I had, and they said, well, it meets the future land map use, so we have, unless there's something that deviates from that, we need to approve it. It's kind of the message that I got, and that may be incorrect. I don't mean to put the exact verbiage in there, but my concern is I voted for Mayor Powers, Del Fowers. I voted for you, Chris. I voted for Ryan. I voted for Cindy. Brad, sorry you didn't get my vote, but you weren't my councilman, so. But the reason I voted for Del is I know him personally, and we had talked, and I'd expressed these frustrations to him, and he said, well, I'm going to work to open that general plan back up. And that's why I'm here tonight, is so I sent a message to Mr. Wilcox, and I said, I want to be on that commission. I want to be a citizen that's concerned. I've knocked on my neighbors' doors and talked to them about my frustrations, and they've expressed the same concerns or similar concerns that I have. We all don't have the same concerns, and we may not all feel the same way. But I want to be more involved. So, Chris, I'm going to ask you tonight to please say yes to this pause. And I'm going to commit to you, though, and I've already kind of done that by saying that I'm going to be on the committee, that I'm going to be better educated about the process and helping move that forward. I hope it doesn't take us a year. I hope it takes us 6 months. And maybe by next spring we can have it up and running. But I'm for growth of Hooper, the right growth. And I want the right businesses here. I want the right land uses here. And those are the things that I feel are important. And I want developers to come in and feel like they can make a good profit fairly, and that's important. That's how we get good developers to come into Hooper. But I appreciate your time tonight, and I just hope that all of you would say yes to this pause. Thank you.
Amanda Prince, I live at 6093 West, 5300 South here in Hooper. I'd like to take my comments directly from the current general plan. In the introduction states, the purpose of the plan is to provide standards for safety, energy conservation, transportation, aesthetics, and recreational, educational, and cultural opportunities. From 1990 to 2000, the population went from 3,468 to 3,926, an increase of 13.2%. As of 2018, the population was estimated at 8,939, an increase of 43.9%. That was 2 years ago, and I'm certain that that percentage is significantly higher now. One of the goals under resources in the current general plan is to retain and enhance the rural atmosphere of Hooper City. To enable this, a policy was put in place, as Mayor Fowers stated, providing for the annual review of the general plan by the Planning Commission and a comprehensive review every 5 years during a static point in time. The reason I feel that this needs to happen now is because we are overdue for this review. I mentioned at the Planning Commission meeting last Thursday the impact that just one subdivision has on our community. Let's say you have 30 lots with 2 people driving and they have a teenage driver. That's 90 more cars wearing on our roads, increasing transportation, contributing to the use of our sewer, putting more of a strain on culinary water and secondary water, and that is just one subdivision. There have already been several new rezones, and there are several new developments already approved and underway. And my understanding is if the rezone has already happened, this would not stop them from moving forward. This is just a pause for any new rezones. I strongly feel things need to be paused and reviewed before we have any new rezones approved. One example of why this temporary land regulation needs to happen. There are several developments that have gone in and are in the process of going in to the north of 4,000 South on 5500 West. This has changed 5500 West from a road that was pretty much a dead end on the north end to a very busy road. Because 4,000 South is a state road, they will only allow so many outlets off of it so as not to impede the flow of traffic. The road is narrow and there are no sidewalks, and you have children who live and walk on this road, and you now have a huge increase in traffic from people using 5500 West to access their subdivision. These kinds of things are not in the best interest of the people who live out here in Hooper. Many of the people who own land and are developing and trying to develop out here have inherited land, but don't actually live out here. They will not be impacted like the people who live out here. Our roads, schools, safety, and quality of life will be affected. I support private property rights, but our decisions seldom only affect just ourselves. I feel there needs to be a balance of getting top dollar for your inherited land by selling it for smaller parcels, with marketing and selling your farmland where it will benefit you and not negatively affect the community it is located in. I keep hearing that growth is inevitable, but it doesn't have to be the level of growth that we've been experiencing here in Hooper. This is our city, and we get to decide how it grows. There is no financial benefit to our city from new developments to our city. Our property taxes do not go to our city, they go to the county. Hooper can be the amazing place it always has been. We're the ones that get to decide that. I'm asking you as the city council members and the people who were elected to represent our citizens to please listen to the concerns of the people who actually live out here in Hooper and who are being affected by this growth. Please vote in support of this temporary land use regulation so that the Planning Commission can have an opportunity to effectively study the issues facing our community and to gather adequate input from the citizens who live here.
Thank you very much.
Sherry Bingham, 4452 South, 5500 West. My comments are a little bit different. They're actually an announcement. I just wanted to remind everybody of the health fair that we have coming up this Monday, the 21st, from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock here at the Civic Center. We actually, through a grant in coordination with the Fremont CTC and some funding, we secured the first 500 people get a coupon for a food truck meal. If you came before, they're really good. We also, with the CARES Act money, we're passing out 500 PPE kits, which include masks, hand sanitizer, spray. Hopefully everybody has heard about this. I know it's been brought up. It's hard to get word out, and you know, I do a newsletter along with coordination with other city employees to get the word out. We post it in our stores. We, you know, sometimes have sent home little flyers to school children. But it's hard, and so if you ever have any questions, please let me know. My cell phone number is everywhere, on every poster, every Facebook post, and I'm always looking for people to help serve on committees. We do ramp grants. Hopefully you'll notice our new restrooms that are here, our new pavilion that was recently installed. We're getting new lights down at the rodeo arena that was all secured through ramp grants. If anyone's interested in being on a ramp grant committee to help us discuss what you would like to see us applied for. And we have other community events coming up, and so I always love to have people come and participate on committees. So if anybody has any questions, make sure you get in touch with me. If anybody wants my phone number, I'm happy to give that to you as well. So thank you.
Okay, are there any other citizens' comments?
I think it's almost everybody that spoke.
Okay, seeing none, we will close our citizens' comments and come back to the city business. The sixth item on the agenda is consideration on a temporary land use regulation. So we bring this back to council. Is there any discussion the council has on this?
So maybe before we start, I don't have a copy of the verbiage of the resolution as it was passed or pushed forward by the planning commission. I didn't get that in my packet. Do we have a copy of what that recommendation was?
I have not done the minutes yet.
So I don't know what I'm approving. Or disapproving.
Well,
I mean, I know the gist of it, but there were some particulars that were mentioned in the fact that I think they said, with exception to those properties that were already submitted, but I just don't remember all the specifics of how that was worded, that verbiage. Do we not have a copy anywhere?
no, I don't. I have not done the minutes.
We have it, we'll give it to you.
I motioned it. Great.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm trying to be difficult.
Have you got it written down? I guess you want to read it and then send it?
Sheriff to the rescue.
Thank you.
It's your money. He's the one.
Would it be alright if I just set up the stage?
So I was at the meeting, so I don't need that read to me. So I'll talk while she's looking for that. I'm 100% supportive of the recommendation that the Planning Commission presented at their last meeting. I want to read you a few comments that really stuck out to me at this meeting and the Planning Commission meeting. If you said this, kudos to you. Protect what we have. I think if we consider this temporary land use regulation, we will be able to do that. We'll be able to have the time. I think this was at the Planning Commission meeting. Someone said, view Hooper from 10,000 feet. I thought that was really interesting because some of these subdivisions that come before us and have a plat, and it is rectangle, 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 rectangle. I mean, from 10,000 feet, it looks terrible. And do I want Hooper to look like that? Absolutely not. And just because there's a temporary land use regulation, or if this is put in place, it doesn't mean half acres are gonna go away. I think we're trying to make things look better than just the same subdivision over and over and over again on different parcels of land. Someone said, what's best for the community? What should be considered is what's best for the community, not just the developers. Transparency and communication, absolutely. If you go, one of the reasons I would like to see the land use regulation put in place. I don't know how many of you know what the general plan entails, but this is not just about rezoning. This is about public services and utilities. This is about transportation. This is about natural resources. This is about moderate income housing, and there's a whole separate booklet on parks and trails. We have not implemented those parks, those trails, because they need to be in place, they need to be marked, they need to be noticed on the map, so that when a developer does come in, you want to develop here, you get to contribute to putting in this park or this trail. So these things are in place. We need to follow through on them. And I think if we take a pause and do that, we'll be able to. So I'm 100% for it.
Keep going. Sorry, I have all of my everything from
Sorry,
Planning
Amanda.
Commission here. So.
And it's probably not as critical. I know that you guys added a few different things to it after we talked about just the, outside of the suspending changes.
We had talked about, as far as the Parkway subdivision and the one for Rob Miles.
The two that were tabled?
That those were tabled and that we would discuss those and make sure that we were within we were okay to be able to proceed with that. Because we had said that the decision would be made in November on those two.
And my understanding was that the attorney that was present at that also said that. He said those would be, they're good. And those of you that haven't rezoned, the rezoning is not going to be reversed.
So I'll share my comment while we're waiting. I wish our legal team was here tonight like they were last week because I had questions for them, because I always like to do things correctly and legally. We're under state law, we're under county regulations. We have our own ordinances that we follow. And so I did some homework and I went to the State of Utah website under the Office of Property Rights, under the Ombudsman. Found a whole section titled Temporary Land Use Regulation or a Moratorium, which we're talking about, and that's what our agenda item is tonight, consideration on a temporary land use regulation. In other words, a moratorium. So I just want to read 4 paragraphs from this document that's about, quite lengthy. I just want to share some things that I learned just in the last week. I for one, didn't know we were ever even considering this until last week, and I'm on the city council. So transparency is a good thing, even for us. Number 1, I'll read you 4 paragraphs, word for word from this. What is a temporary land use regulation? A temporary land use regulation, often called a moratorium, is a mechanism by which a zoning regulation is adopted for a limited period of time without having to go through the normal process of public hearings. Question 2, may a local government enact temporary land use regulations? Temporary zoning regulations not to exceed 6 months are authorized under the Land Use Development and Management Acts, Utah Code 10-9A-504. Question 3, why would a temporary land use regulation be adopted? A temporary land use regulation may be adopted when there is an emergency situation or a compelling reason that requires immediate action. While the temporary regulation is in place, the local government has time to address the situation through the normal process to adopt zoning ordinances. And question 4, what is a compelling public interest? So it gave 2 things, an emergency or a compelling public interest, which is a compelling public interest relates to a substantial risk to the public's health, safety, or welfare that should be addressed through a temporary regulation. So, a lot of questions came up in my mind. Last week, a motion was made to recommend to the City Council consideration of a temporary land use regulation. There was no reasons associated with that. There was no compelling interest that related to the public's health, safety, or welfare, or an emergency situation that was addressed so that this regulation could be voted upon. We still don't really know the reasons other than we just want to. Don't get me wrong. I'm in support of. Don't get me wrong. I'm in support of a discussion on this. So, excuse me. I'm talking. Thank you. So, emergency situations or health risk would be all those things you guys just said. The sewer system's not working. There's one. We don't have enough water for people. There's 2. The fire department can't get to a particular piece of property. There's 3. Emergency situations. So let me just tell you how things work. When a development comes before the planning commission, they get to see it first. They approve it. They have actually 2 times. There's a initial approval and a final approval for every single subdivision that gets built in Hooper City. That process also comes to the city council. We have an initial approval and a final approval of every single subdivision. Through that approval process, we have so many people come to us and explain why this subdivision can and should be built. We have the water company, we have the irrigation company, we have the sewer manager, we have the fire department, we have the mayor sign it. We have all these authorities that have to sign this document that says this is okay to move forward.
Yeah, we can do this.
We can do this. This is okay to do. We have question after question after question to every single one of these people every time a subdivision comes before us, because we want to know too. We don't just rubber stamp everything. I understand why you think that, but we don't. We have questions. We ask, we find out, is this okay? All of these experts, so-called experts that we have in our city, tell us every single time we're okay to build. We're okay to build. Okay, so, what else do we have to go off of?
Well, we'll let you finish, and then I'll have a comment.
Okay.
When you're done, Councilman Hill.
So my thing is, I support a discussion on this. I agree we're growing too fast. However, 5 years ago when we did a general plan, I was on the planning commission that did the general plan. We had the same kind of format. We had people come, we had open houses, we had discussion. One of the things that sticks out in my mind, one of the comments tonight, was full acres don't get taken care of. I remember that one specifically in my head because people didn't want to, full acres because they turned trashy, was what they said. And I heard that comment tonight. And so as a planning commission and as the city council, we came up with a plan to put a section of R2 on the land use map, didn't just blanket zone it, that land use map that allowed it to be rezoned to R2. We've had several landowners, including a former city council member, take advantage of that land use map. So I think we did a great job myself. I mean, considering what's going on in surrounding cities, I think we did a dang good job. And I'm proud of the work we did, and I understand both sides of the coin here. But all I'm saying is we need to do this correctly and legally. As I just read, we don't have a compelling reason to pass a temporary land use regulation right now. So apparently there's another section,
I believe we
509.
do.
Well, I wouldn't want any of these citizens to ever think that we would ever approach anything that would be illegal or something that's not within our rights and authorities as a city. So I know you quoted 10-9A-504.
Correct.
A temporary land use regulation. That is not what our planning commission is using. The code they are using is 10-9A-509. And this is what we reviewed with our city attorney. In that, it says the land use authority, which in our case here in Hooper City is our planning commission.
Incorrect.
No, that's not incorrect. They are our land use
City council.
authority. And they are the ones that, they are our land use authority on record, formally finds that a compelling countervailing public interest would be jeopardized by approving the application and specifies the compelling countervailing public interest in writing. And it goes on to say that this land use, our planning commission can actually, their compelling reason for doing this is because we're looking at our general plan again. We're looking at doing a comprehensive study. Now, I agree with you that the planning commission cannot just approve this like they did approve the comprehensive study. It has to come to the city council in order to to make effective the Utah code that I just read. So it does have to come to the city council, but they still have every right and the authority to bring that to you to review, and just like they've done.
So the compelling interest is what?
The compelling interest is that some of these words are hard for me to pronounce, but there's a countervailing public interest would be jeopardized by approving an application and specifies the compelling countervailing public interest. So in other words, as you start to list, the very thing that kind of brought this to the attention when there was the rezone that was, it wasn't just for 18 lots, it was for 52 acres that was brought to the planning commission and was then tabled to November. Some of the reasons that was on there is, can our roads sustain it? Can our culinary water sustain that? Can we have an overlay that says that our sewer should sustain it, but we've never looked at a comprehensive study to see just where we are today. So it's not trying to put just a stop on everything, it's just stepping back, taking a breath and saying, where are we today? Because, I was on the planning commission with you too, Ryan. But you know, I brought a list of the subdivisions that have been approved or in the process of being approved. They're approved or they're in the process of being built. And to me, this just makes there's a lot of pressure on Hooper. But let me just read these. H.L. Parker Farms, Hadley Valley, Whittison Subdivision, Rawson Ranch, RFR Subdivision, Turner Legacy, Quail Cove, Quail Estates, The Birds at Refuge Point, Greens Landing, Morning Meadows, Silver Saddle, Hummingbird Estate, Eagle Estate, Hall's Crossing, Country View, Westview, the Rapoletto Subdivision, Fresnel Subdivision, Torgali, Pat Acres, Anita Acres, Wildwood Circle, Second Estates, Brooks Estates, Patriot Acres. Some of the projects that are in the process of being done is the lift station out of the Rawson project. My point in just reading that, and I realize that some of these may only be 2 or 3 homes, but there's some of them that are 10 times that. Most of them are. And I think our planning commission is just saying it's just time we just step back and find out where we are. And one thing I think is critically important is even our impact fees. I don't know how long ago it's really been since we looked at our impact fees to say, okay, if this subdivider comes into Hooper, the impact he has on our roads, how much are we really charging them to cover those things? Or the sewer, or the water, or everything else that this subdivision is going to start using up. And so again, it's not just a matter of just shutting the gate forever. It's just saying, I think like's been mentioned over and over tonight, it's just a time to find out where we are and to just be really responsible, more responsible in how we develop Hooper, because we all like it here. But anyway, my point in just saying that is that we are legal. And we would have never, we would have never come this far just to do something that wasn't legal.
So why does 509 kind of contradict 504?
I don't think it contradicts it. I think it just adds to it. And this actually went into effect on May 12th, 2020. So
Just this year.
Just this year. And obviously it's probably to help cities just like us. I mean,
504 says, the legislative body makes a finding of compelling, countervailing public interest.
So,
To me,
sorry, Councilman.
it's covered.
well, we wouldn't do it if our city attorney hadn't.
This is my
That's why I
question.
wanted them to be here tonight.
The one
so we
question
can
I have,
explain it.
and I spoke at length with a resident this afternoon about this. So as a council person, and we sat in a work meeting a couple weeks back, and this seemed to be a topic of discussion, yet I've yet to hear one of the city staff members tell me this, is that we have an infrastructure problem currently. Now, I'm not saying in the future, but currently. I keep hearing that this problem exists, and then yet if I ask, and I don't want to call people on the spot, but if I ask our engineer, which I asked about a subdivision that was built in my own neighborhood, and we talked, the 5500 West was addressed tonight, and I said, geez, it doesn't seem like that road can hold all that traffic. And the engineer said, based on studies and based on traffic studies and everything what we've done, it falls into compliance. And I said, all right, it doesn't make sense to me, but he is the one, right, that we pay to understand the traffic rules and regulations and whether or not that road will handle it. Now, we since then submitted to get funds to expand 5500, for those that don't know, and our goal is to try to expand that because it still doesn't make sense and it's not super safe for the children to go up and down it. It's a kind of a 1.5 car road. But I don't think our engineer did anything wrong because he follows a set of rules and guidelines that are given to him as an engineer to say whether or not that road will handle the capacity of what is anticipated to be on it. I hear problems about the sewer. Today, one of the gentlemen I talked to was sewer has a problem. And then I'm like, where's the problem? Because if I talk to the staff, and we brought this up 2 meetings ago or a meeting ago, we said, what's wrong with the sewer currently? Everybody goes, well, nothing, the sewer's working fine. So the sewer's not broke. Okay, so the sewer's not broke. What's wrong with our Hooper Water? Hooper Water continues to sign off subdivision after subdivision saying we will serve XYZ subdivision because we won't take any action until said subdivision has a concurrence or a will serve letter by Hooper Water. Hooper Irrigation, Mayor, who you sit on the board of, right? Continues to say we have enough water, people buy a water share, people have the rights, will serve.
Okay,
We
so
can
let me
build.
read you a letter to all the stockholders of Hooper Irrigation.
Well, let me just ask a
Okay.
question. So
I
do
don't
you,
wanna get off track, but I don't wanna bring up things
yeah, that's,
that
I don't
are
think,
keeping us.
so do you support the temporary land use?
My question is, what's the compelling reason? So I hear the citizens out here, right, and I'm not trying to belittle the input that I heard, but we just said there's 9,000 citizens in Hooper. We have a very small sampling, and I appreciate the sampling, but mind you, it's a small sampling, and if statistically we ran every decision that was made based off of less than a 3% sampling, we would have a really big, difficult time running our country.
So do you not support it because you don't think we have enough people here? 85% of the people supported this. So do you think we need more sampling?
Here's my deal. I'm not saying I don't.
Let me say one thing to that. People supporting something doesn't make it right, according to state statute.
I agree.
If it really didn't make a difference,
So-
if it really didn't make a difference, then I don't know why.
So Cindy asked me a question, let me respond to her question. Right? Cindy asked me a question, let me respond. Do I support a moratorium? I support a moratorium with time limits and within reason of law and with a reason to do it. So far, I don't have a compelling reason except for some frustration by citizens, which is compelling, but it's not compelling based on what I understand the criteria to be. I don't see that there's an emergency. And the second thing that I look at, Cindy, when I look at it is if I'm a landowner, which I believe hugely in land rights, and when people say, people own land in Hooper, but they don't live here, so they don't have any say. Sadly, people, that's not how it works. If you own land, you have rights in the city that you own land in. That's how it works. So, but my point is, my point is that
Let's just have our discussion up here, we understand.
is this.
So,
I think there's an agenda. I think the agenda was pushed to our planning commission. I think that the council was left out of it. I don't know who's pushing this agenda. No. I know there's an agenda because I've heard, and quite frankly, I'm saddened by the fact that I've been accused of being on the side of the developers. I don't have any developers that I even work with.
If you were accused of that, it was from your comments from the last meeting.
It actually was from the mayor prior to that meeting, and if we can read the minutes, we would see that.
Let's get this back
So
on track.
you know what? I'll make it easy. Based on the current situation, I don't support it at all.
And that's your opinion. I think there's many compelling reasons. So
That's fine.
So
That's why we're all here.
Okay,
can I make a
well,
motion?
okay, so, is there any other discussion among the council?
I also, I've heard a lot of comments and it was interesting. I was on a city council when we opened up the general plan last time. And I think I would agree with Ryan Hill that I think that everybody did a pretty darn good job with the comments that they had from the citizens at the time. It was 5 years ago. I think they put together a really good plan. Now we're looking back 5 years, maybe things could have changed. Maybe if all of you had showed up then, well, it didn't, if you're still complaining about it, I don't know what you're complaining about then. Because it was a culmination of what the citizens wanted. Tons of open houses. You had your chance to talk, and now it's ours. Okay? Be respectful, please. So hardly anybody came to those meetings. If any of you did here, I bet you only a handful of you did, because that's all that showed up to the meetings. I was here. I was on the council at the time. So, that being said, I would only support a moratorium if there was a time limit on it, and not one that's going to go a couple of years, and not one, there would have to be a short time limit on it. Because I think that is respectful to everybody involved.
So good
There's
question.
a
What is the
timetable.
time? What is the
Yeah,
timetable?
when I say we have a calendar, Shauna has that, I think all of you were given that, you were all given.
We were not.
No,
You don't know,
No.
no idea.
don't any of you know what's going on at all?
No.
Seriously.
Absolutely not. That's the
Absolutely
problem.
not. We didn't
That's
know
the
anything
problem,
about
Mayor.
this till last
Yep.
week.
No,
That's
no,
what-
no, no, that's not the
the
problem.
way I'm asking.
What?
You need to be proactive.
I mean, you need to, okay, Sean,
Just for quick clarification, the timetable he's talking about is the timetable that was provided to you in the packets for the work session from the Wasatch Front Regional Council for the scope of work. And it went from August till, I can't remember what.
I've got it right here.
Yeah, we weren't talking about moratorium then.
Will you read that?
Were we talking about moratorium at that time? No, that's what I'm talking about, is there was no talk of moratorium.
Moratorium is the line item we're talking about right now.
Right now, that's the first time we've seen about a moratorium, period.
well, I don't think,
What?
there was not the word moratorium, that's not what this is.
That's what.
Well, what is it
That's what the
then?
city business line is.
Because what it is, just like it states on the agenda, now I've actually,
Says consideration on a temporary land use regulation, which is,
Well, call-
which is moratorium.
Call it what you want. Call it what you want.
It only involves those that are coming in for a rezone. So those subdivisions
not
that
even
are having
presented
been
to us.
approved or in the process of being built will still continue on. In fact, when we talked about this with the city attorney, he wondered, would this slow things down enough just on a rezone? And it will if we make sure all the developers that are here working now do everything they're supposed to do. Not after the fact, when we find out that they haven't done it, and we go back in and stop their work until they catch up with the plans that they had submitted, but if we just keep them on track with what their plans said they should do.
So Mayor, of that list you read tonight, we know that a developer only has so much time to implement his plans before those expire, correct? In your opinion, how many of those are expired or close to expiring before they have to come back for reapproval?
I think all of these are in the process of, there's not one of these that isn't either built, like the H.O. Parker Farms, that first one on the subdivision is already done. Hadley Valley is in the process of being done. All of Wilson subdivision, there's none of these that will ever come back.
So they're all timely?
They're all timely.
Okay. I thought we talked about at one meeting that a lot of them were expired or are expiring, if I remember right.
Green subdivision, I believe, is
The Green
expired.
subdivision was one of them?
Green Acres.
Green's Landing?
Yeah.
No, that's in the process of still being worked on.
Did it not
I would
change
make one
ownership?
exception to that. There was one group that came in that wanted to build 180 homes. And I don't think I brought a picture of that, out on a piece of property next to the Rawson Ranch, the Torgate property. And at that time, in order for us to amend the general plan as it is right today, open it up and amend it so they could put in half-acre lots, they would have to have access to the sewer. And the only access to the sewer that they have is if they can tie into Rawson Ranch's lift station, which is not operational today. And so because of that, and we don't know when it will be, I mean, I think at some point they'll get that done. But in order for Gales to have half-acre lots, they would have to use that lift station, since it's been designed as a regional lift station, but it's not operational. So we didn't even see a way that they could come in and amend the general plan today. So that is one that, that's the only exception to the list that I read to you.
So Cindy, make a motion. Let's be done.
Do you want me to read this or not? I have it.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'll need it to make a motion.
The motion is made for a recommendation to the city council to put in place a temporary land use regulation, putting a halt to all rezones until the comprehensive study of the general plan is complete and an amended general plan is adapted and put in place, with the understanding that the developments that we had already made a motion to table, would be considered to make sure that we are still within our legal rights.
Is there a time frame on that?
The time frame was until the general plan, until a comprehensive study of the general plan is complete and an amended general plan is adapted and put in place. And I was basing that off of the paperwork that we were given in the packet from the Wasatch Front Regional Council.
And there was comments made last week that some thought that would take 12 to 18 months. And I highly think that's pretty unreasonable to drag it out that long.
Was that from the Wasatch Front Regional Council? Don't they do this all the time? That's where the timeline came from, right?
The timeline is really flexible based on like once you have your kickoff meeting and how you decide to do that. So there's really been nothing set in stone as far as what will or can take place. So that's probably most likely a worst case scenario.
So if I made a motion, and we had to put a time limit in it, you would support that, not knowing, I mean, you were there, you know, it was a process. So would you support it if there's a time limit?
I would.
And then, but what time limit? A year?
How long did it take last time?
It took a year. It took a year, so.
North Ogden just gave their commission, they're currently going through a open plan meeting, and they just about 3 weeks ago gave their commission till December 31st as a moratorium, so about 4 months.
4 months.
Oh, that's, so.
I would think six
What if we split the difference in 8 months?
6 to 9 months would be reasonable.
6 to 9 months? Okay.
Well, actually, when the Wasatch Regional Council called, we had actually had an ending date of December 31st of 2020. And she actually told me that that's impossible. You cannot do a comprehensive study of a city in that length of time. And she told me it would take, if you're going to do it right, just using the old, it's not old, but direction is ever more important than speed. And to just do something to get it done is, it's not worth our time. When we're done with this, we would hope that every citizen would be pleased with the work that we've done, that it represents them. And it's not a matter of just holding up development just to hold it up. It's having impacts on us. That's what we're saying. We're being impacted in this city, and I feel like in the last couple of years, probably the pressure's on more than ever to build in Hooper. And, you know, after all, we have more land than any city in Weber County by far.
Apparently we're more rich than
And apparently more rich.
including Park City and.
I saw that article too.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to look at it. I didn't know what
So
to think.
so to move it along, if we made a motion that was for 9 months and had it a little open-ended, that if we were near completion, we could go a little beyond that, or is there any wording that we could put in there that would, I mean,
Well, it doesn't matter if you're done with the general plan or not, you
Well,
can
that's-
still
that's
take
true.
off the restriction of rezoning. Whether we're close to done or
Yeah, I mean, it
done
could
or
be
whatever.
6 months, it could be 9
It
months.
could- yeah, it
We
could be-
don't have to follow the plan of the general plan.
Like 12 months is a problem? Yeah.
Cause I guess we got landowners that sit on this land and they pay interest on it every month. And they're taking a financial hit, for owning property that they could be, making a profit on.
There's people that are worried about that versus the impact it has on the rest of the citizens. That's what this meeting's about, is to discuss the impact of the overall community.
And we represent both.
And that's where we want you to take that consideration, not just the impact of the people that are developing, that don't live here, I get that part of it, but the interest, what is their motive for this?
Well, if I make a motion and no one supports it, can I make another motion?
I don't see a problem.
Well, we
I don't
can
see a problem.
We
amend your
can
motion.
amend your, that's
One
true.
thing I was, a question to
I still
the
would like
others,
to hear the
what would be
attorneys.
your alternative? I
Hey,
just
speak,
wanna-
now, you know what, last time this happened, you told me to speak into the
Yeah,
microphone. You speak so they can hear.
I was just telling Ryan that I would like to still hear what our attorney says to us, so that we can cross-examine what he's saying, so that's all I'm saying. That wasn't a secret.
Okay, what I would
I'd like to make a motion. I move that we table this until we can get one of our city attorneys to meet with the city council to discuss this further.
Okay, I'm gonna make a counter motion, since there was no second, that we, move forward with the consideration on the temporary land use regulation as presented by the planning commission. And if you want her to read that again, but I would just go with that we have a time limit on it of 12 months. I know that seems like a long time, but it took us a long time to do it. So that's my motion.
Okay, we have a motion, did you get that, Shauna? Do we have a second? Okay, so
I'll amend that motion and make it 9 months.
3 months,
No,
9
9
months.
months. 9 months. 9 months.
So that failed too. So back to Chris's comment, to get counsel or feedback from our city attorney. I mean, you've obviously had a discussion with the city attorney that we have not. You know, we are rarely in those discussions, and we find out about them afterwards or during a meeting like this. And so, I mean, we do trust you from what the discussion was, obviously. We understand you had the discussion, you're telling us what you felt. I wish I could talk. I really wish I could talk.
You know, it actually would be more productive if the public comment was made. So now it's our turn to discuss it between us.
so as we discuss it, what, do you have do members of council have another plan? Do you have another way of doing things? I mean, we already know that the planning commission has made a motion and approved to do a comprehensive study of everything we can come up with, even historical sites in Hooper City. So we know that they've already, that's already going to take place. Do you have another way of saying, how do we do a comprehensive plan? If that plan is to be made all the time we're moving, and the studies, everything that we begin to study is being impacted right while the study's taking place. How else do we do it than to start at some point?
Well, how did we do it last time? 5 years ago, we didn't have this.
Well, we took 12 months to do it.
We didn't have this moratorium though. In 12 months, we didn't have a moratorium on any.
So do you think if
Reasons.
we went to 9 months, we could move it along faster?
I would sure hope so.
That would be an incentive, right?
That'd be by June or July of next year. I mean,
What
that,
if it's just not to exceed 12 months? Is there a way that we could look at this, and I just don't want to be put in a position where we're up against a timeline that just has not given us enough time to do the amount of work that needs to be done.
so why do you feel like we need a moratorium this time that we didn't have
Last time.
5 years ago?
I don't remember, Ryan, I don't remember there being a list of subdivisions that.
We're not stopping those subdivisions.
All that high density, that's third acre and quarter acre, they were building the snot out of that last time.
Yeah, but that was all done. See, that
No, it
wasn't.
wasn't all done. It
No,
wasn't,
those-
they were in the
those have been
process of it.
approved. Those have been, we didn't go back and change those.
All the subdivisions you presented tonight have been approved.
That's
So we're
correct,
not
but the
changing
ones
anything from
you're
them either.
talking about in East Hooper, that isn't something that we
I
could
got
have
you.
stopped back then, just like we're saying now. We can't
stopping
stop
any of those.
things that are already in the process. We're not asking for that. What we're asking is for a land use regulation on rezones.
Okay, so I'll make a motion, that we approve, or take into consideration the planning commission's recommendation to approve a temporary land use regulation on rezoning with a time limit of 9 months.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Hill and a second from Councilman Osler. All those in favor?
Well, I'd like to have discussion on the
Oh,
motion.
yeah, is there any other discussion on that?
So, Ryan, one of the things is, I'm not opposed to the timeline. I still think, once again, I get that the mayor spoke with council. I just feel like we deserve to hear the pros and cons of the process from our city council. I don't know.
City attorney?
Yeah, city attorney. Not that I'm not telling you I won't vote yea or nay, but I mean, as we consider this, I just think, for lack of what I think people understand, in the city government as Hooper has, the city council is the body that has voting rights. And whether you like the way I vote or not, I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend personally, but I have, opinions. The city council are the ones that have the power of the vote in our city government. The mayor is an administrative figure for our city, and Mayor Fowers does a great job. But it doesn't mean that we always agree. And the reason that there's 5 of us is because we can have differences of opinions. And I think it makes us more healthy the more differences that we have. And then we work through them and hopefully understand how the democratic process works and come to an agreement that we feel like is the best for everyone. And so I heard, chatter that the mayor and this and that the reality is that the council has to make the decision, and we're the ones that are stuck by it when we make it. And so we have to work things out, and I appreciate the discussion we've had. I get heated, but it doesn't mean that it's a personal thing. It's a passion thing, and so I also listen. And Ryan, I'm not opposed to where you're at.
Well, and that being said, I think the soonest opportunity we have to hear from our legal team, we should be allowed to hear that same conversation that he had with Mayor Fowers.
But you made the comment when you were describing what we go through with subdivision. Hooper Waters approved it, the engineers approved it, the fire department approved it. Our attorney approved this and sent this information to the mayor. So wouldn't that mean he approved it?
I don't have a copy of the information sent to the mayor, Cindy.
The mayor the city attorney doesn't approve a motion to the city council.
No, he doesn't.
I mean, that's the.
They tell you everything
And I do want
that's
to
done.
clear up one thing, unless I'm completely confused, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. The land use authority is the city council in this town, because we're the voters.
No, if you're appointed or voted in, the whole purpose is to make this a better city.
I understand. I'm just trying to clarify who the land use authority is.
Well, yeah, to me, that's not productive. My vote counts, yours doesn't. When they make a recommendation, you ask how many. So I can get heated too. None of them. They all voted for this.
So we have a motion and a second.
So, could I amend it with 9 months, not to exceed 12 months, with every effort made for 9?
Could I ask a question?
No.
I mean, I would like to see it just a little open-ended, but
What's right?
Dale, read that letter from Hooper Irrigation, will ya? Started to read.
was that you, Mary? Okay, if Mary says that, she's over the planning commission, I'll support 9.
Okay. We have a motion and a second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed?
Nate?
Okay, so we have a majority, so the motion carries.
Let's adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Wait,
We actually have citizen
we have
comments.
citizen comments.
Comments, sorry.
Oh, citizens' comments?
You can now.
You can now.
Yep.
Ada Parker Beaker, I just want some clarification, so I understand myself. I understand that the subdivisions that he read off, if I understand it correctly, are grandfathered in as approved.
Correct.
But what about those that have put an application in to change a portion, and now they're in limbo? Are you grandfathering in those as well?
So from what I understand, they were tabled by the planning commission, and they will be entertained in November, but they will still be allowed to be rezoned because the application was made prior to tonight.
Well, but what you're asking too, Ada, is that the rezone was on 52 acres. That's the rezone that was tabled by H.L. Parker. I don't think we've got an application that's different. Do we have one in the
Yes,
city
you
now?
do, yes.
And what's it for? So you've changed it to 18, when?
Nice.
Okay, Sean, you have that? Okay.
So we're not clear what you're approving and what you're not approving for us. as
Well,
a-
the question you're asking, I think will go to our planning commission. It's not a question for the council, so they'll.
That's what you said.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Are there any other comments, citizen comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So I will now make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And thank you all for coming. We really appreciate the participation, the input.
Oh, I know. I talked to Chris about that today. I said, I hate you, but I feel bad for you because it's totally gonna go.
Then all of it comes